What's good, guys? My name is Quaid. Welcome back to another video. And today I'm actually going to be reviewing the Verge's old PC build guide that they posted sometime last year in 2018, early 2018 maybe. Basically, the gist of this video is this wonderful gentleman here is trying to build a PC for $2,000 and basically does it all wrong, screws it all up, and it got a ton of backlash, and The Verge had to take the original video down. I know a lot of people have already sort of done a video on this, I'm pretty sure, like all the big time YouTubers like Christopher Yee up here, this gentleman up here. But yeah, I want to do my own take on this. I know it's a bit old, but I wanted to put something out for you guys just so you guys can know what not to do while building a PC. So, shout out to Taylor Green for re-uploading this on September 17th, 2018. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Again, I don't know what to expect. I've seen clips here and there of this man failing to build a PC right, but I'm gonna go through and pick through what I think is wrong and what you shouldn't do. So anyway, without further ado, let's let this wonderful gentleman right here show us how to build a $2,000 gaming PC.
A few years ago, TC, our managing editor, built a gaming desktop, but it's kind of out of date, and it's definitely not going to hold up for Battlefield 5. So, let's build a new one.
Okay, so it's out of date if it can't run Battlefield 5. Listen, if it's out of date and it can't run Battlefield 5, it might be able to run other games.
You can build a gaming desktop for around $1,000.
Okay, so, first of all, you can build a gaming desktop for $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, all the way up to maybe like $50,000 or $60,000. Doesn't matter. You can also build it for $900, $800, $700. There's a lot of versatility whenever it comes to building PCs like this. Try to consider budget and medium and to high-end options whenever you're building a PC like this.
But I want to go all out, so I spent around $2,000. PC like this is...
Okay, we know you didn't spend $2,000. The Verge spent $2,000. And you're just showing us how to build a PC.
Going to be able to play most games at ultra settings.
Okay, so if you're building a computer for $2,000, I would like to think that it just couldn't run most games at ultra settings. This should be able to run all games at ultra settings.
So, what do you need to build a desktop? Well, of course, first you need a table.
If you didn't already know, you need a table. Not only a table, just any sort of workspace whatsoever. That wasn't even worth mentioning.
Preferably not metal. If it's going to be metal, have an anti-static working surface layered on top of it.
Okay, that's a good thing.
A thermal paste applicator.
Okay. Thermal paste applicator. You do not... you do not need a thermal paste applicator at all. Because, you know, if you were to blob thermal paste on a CPU before putting the cooler on, just with this syringe here, it'd be completely fine. You don't need to, you don't need an applicator.
An Allen wrench.
Okay, another thing. Experience that I've had building and taking apart computers and putting them back together, I've never needed an Allen wrench.
Some tweezers to tighten up the wires, a Swiss Army...
Bruh. Those are not tweezers. These are zip ties. Those are not tweezers. Those are zip ties.
Knife, which hopefully has a Phillips head screwdriver in it.
Okay, so if you're going to be building a computer, you need to make sure you have all the necessary tools to build it. You cannot just take something and say that it hopefully has the tools you'll need
in it. And last but not least, an anti-static bracelet, which is to protect you and the parts. These are the parts you're going to need, but more important...
Okay, so he just said you needed a anti-static bracelet. You don't need an anti-static bracelet, but you can have an anti-static bracelet. It wouldn't hurt anything, and it would, he is right, add that added protection. But the thing with anti-static bracelets is, it needs to be grounded to something for it to work. It needs to be grounded to something anti-static. For it to be anti-static. And if it's not grounded to anything, it's not anti-static. So this bracelet right here is doing nothing.
Importantly, before we get there, we need to understand what these parts are doing and how they interact with one another.
To better understand the parts that make up a desktop, let's try to understand...
Okay, we already understand what they do. So let's just skip ahead.
There's sites like PCPartPicker.com that help show presets for which parts fit together, which sort of part conflicts you might have, and where to find deals on new parts.
Okay, he is right about that. PC Part Picker is absolutely wonderful. It is a wonderful tool to help you figure out what you need for your next PC build. I highly recommend going and using PC Part Picker if you're thinking about building your first system or building a new one.
We have a lot of boxes and a lot of PC parts, so it's best if you unbox them, isolate the parts that you really need, place items into the case, and make sure that they all fit.
You need to isolate all of the parts. There is no what you really need. It's just, you need to isolate all of the parts.
Fit, and then start working. And now we're really going to start building by adding the motherboard in. Some notes about installing motherboards: they're really delicate, you should be really careful with them, and screw in with confidence, but also don't screw in too hard, otherwise you could crack the board.
Take that advice as you will.
I chose Asus Z370 motherboard for
Asus Z.
two main reasons. One, it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth.
Don't buy a motherboard just because it has built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Get a motherboard that is good for what you want to do. Some people don't want Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Some people just like having a regular motherboard.
And also it has support for NVMe SSDs, meaning you can get
A lot of motherboards have the ability to have an NVMe SSD. Not just this one.
really fast SSDs that are really easy to install. Pay close attention to the brace that goes at the
That is not a
back
brace.
of the
That is an IO shield. And
in, because there's no
do not hammer it in either. Don't break your IO shield.
screw. It really just has to go outside of the case and clasp onto the frame. And this
Clasp onto the frame. Okay.
is very important because otherwise you can't align the motherboard correctly with the holes. We're just going to start
I mean, you can. My watch is going off. You can align it because you have standoffs for your screws on the actual frame. So you don't need an IO shield just to align everything.
installing all 8 screws.
Okay, God, he looks like he's using a lot of force. You need to be careful so you don't crack the board, like you said
So
earlier.
next we're going to install the RAM on the motherboard.
For another thing I forgot to mention, he's putting the motherboard in before anything else. Normally, if I were building a computer, you would put the motherboard on the table, install everything you need on the motherboard first, and then put the motherboard in the computer.
The board. I chose Corsair's 16GB Vengeance LED RAM for 2 main reasons. One, it has LEDs and
Okay, yeah, I mean, of course, RGB RAM is cool. You don't need RGB RAM, but it's definitely cool to have RGB
we
RAM.
do like lights in our gaming desktops. Secondly, it's pretty fast RAM. It's 2666 megahertz.
That's not that fast. I mean, I'm assuming he's using DDR4 RAM. He is using DDR4 RAM. This is a $2,000 computer. He's using DDR4 RAM. That is not that fast for a DDR4 RAM. Now, it might be fast for DDR3 RAM, but not for DDR4 RAM.
So it's pretty fast, and this
It is not that fast.
motherboard supports that speed,
Of course the motherboard will support the speed. That's like, any motherboard would support that.
which is most important. Open the slots first, and just align.
Okay, if you have 2 sticks of RAM, do not open all 4 DIMMs. You don't need to do that. If you have 2 sticks of RAM, open 2 DIMMs.
The stick with the middle of the strip, not with the, and just lining that up with the logo. So once you hear that solid clasp and you don't see the gold connectors on the side anymore, that's when you know the RAM is in. Step.
Yeah, obviously. He put the RAM in right beside each other. Not only did he just lose all dual channel support, the computer's only going to read 1 stick of RAM out of those 2 sticks. He literally paid probably over $70 for that RAM, and he's getting half the value because he just put them in next to each other. So you've lost all dual channel support. Not only that, I mean, it's not even going to read the other stick of RAM. Cool, nice job, dude.
Step 3, we're going to install the hard drive, or in this case, the NVMe SSD. I chose this format of solid state drive so that I could input it into the motherboard without having to worry about extra wires or...
Putting an SSD in a hard drive or a hard drive in a computer isn't going to be... It's not going to create that much more mess. I mean, it's going to be a couple wires, but that's it.
putting it in a separate part of the case and just getting really messy.
It's not going to be really messy. If you're putting just a single drive in there, it's not going to be messy. Heck, I have 2 SSDs in my computer, and it's not that messy.
This is from Kingston, and it's 480 gigabytes, so it's not a lot, but you can always upgrade this and swap.
Freaking drops it and leaves it half connected in the thing. What the heck, man?
And it's only held down by 1 screw and the latch, so it's really simple and really straightforward. Speed for gaming is
I don't see a latch.
So it's really simple and really straightforward. Speed for gaming is important when it comes to a hard drive. You want files to write quickly and you want games to load quickly. So step 4, we're going to install the graphics card. I chose PNY's GTX 1080, which is overclocked. And so it's a pretty easy installation. You're just going to find the gold connectors. And you're going to line this bracket with the back end bracket of your PC case. Now, which lane you choose depends entirely on what other parts you're going to put.
No, it doesn't. You need to... Okay, normally the first lane, in my computer for instance, the first lane, if you were to put your... he should have went into more depth. The graphics card goes into the PCIe slot, or the PCI Express slot on your motherboard. And there's normally 2 PCI Express slots on a motherboard. If you're going to be sticking with one graphics card and you need to put it in the first lane because it's generally faster.
Put in the system. I'm just going to pick the top one because the SSD is at the bottom and I don't want to cover it. I just think it looks.
Why would you want to worry about covering an SSD?
Click down.
That sounded really painful.
Remaining brackets and just put them in the spots that you haven't used. You don't have to screw these in.
I would do that before anything, but whatever.
They get bolted down by the back end bracket. And your GPU.
He says bracket a lot.
So just take it in, slide it in nice and easy until you have a snug fit.
Oh no.
And then shift it to the back and make sure it's right up against the frame.
No, putting it in backwards.
Line it with these little insulating pads.
Look, the fan. It's right there.
You align it with these little insulating pads. Take it in.
The fan's at the back, and he's pressing it right up against where the motherboard is attached to the PC. This wall. This power supply is getting absolutely no ventilation.
Until you have a...
If you want your PC to last more than 2 months, ladies and gentlemen, put the fan facing down or out. Don't put it against the...
fit, and then shift it to the back and make sure it's right up against the frame. Now you just take the required screws and you tighten and screw in. So next step, we're going to install the CPU core. In this case, it's going to go on the top end of the case, and we're just going to have the hose hang out for a little while until we install the processor, which is going to come a little later.
You should install the processor first, so you're not having your freaking water cooler dangling for you to damage, because dude, you are literally a freaking storm.
Screwing it in. So there's nothing special about this screwing in process. They're just really long screws because they go through the entire frame of the cooler.
No, they're really long screws because you have to screw in the fans with it. That's why they're long.
And they take forever.
Yeah, you're supposed to screw the fans in, dude. Oh my god.
So next up, cable.
Still no fans.
Every power supply is going to come with a big bag of Velcro cables.
Not every single power supply.